All right, so I'm gonna try to make this video as quick as possible. What you're looking at here is my solar cart. Now, I call it the solar cart because it's on wheels and it's a cart. I welded this together. It was already a cart prior, but I had to take out shelving and make some modifications, make everything wider here. So the reason I made it on a cart, if you watched the last video, was that when we build our house, I want to be able to move this to a utility room, and I don't want to have to start all over. I can add on to things and make another cart even, but I don't want to have to tear everything down from the RV, move it to the other side of the property, which is where our house is going to be, and then, have to do it all over. So I said, well, I think I'm going to put it on a cart. So I had to make measurements in the RV to make sure I can get this thing out of here. It's going to probably take it's going to take two people here to move this thing. But basically, I won't have to tear everything down here. And, that's going to make my life a lot easier. There's nothing worse than having to do the same job twice. So anyways, so this cart was made for that reason. You can see it's in an RV here. There used to be a couch here, so we took the couch out because we don't use it, and we just put the couch in storage and set this cart up here, okay, in the fifth wheel. It used to be over there, the solar setup. So let me explain to you what's going on here. So I have two grow watt inverters hooked up. They're ready for parallel hookup. However, I actually don't need this other one yet. We're getting by just fine on 3,000 watts. So really, once these are in parallel, there'll be 6,000 watts of power. And in fact, when we get our house done, I'm going to have a total of 4 of them, or might even just switch out to get a 12,000 watt inverter. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I'll have the option to parallel these if I want to. And I also want to do 240 volts. So, things are going to be configured a little differently. So these are set up. Okay, they're just mounted. Everything on here is rubber coated. All right, so I rubber coated the frame of this cart, and the backboards there are rubber coated as well. And it's just this rubber coating you can put on them. And so everything's mounted, of course. And then I'm going to go into the batteries now and how everything's set up. So right now I have a total of 3.5 kilowatts of panels hooked up to this inverter here. Now the other one, I will also have 3.5 kilowatts hooked up. So a total of 7 kilowatts of solar panels. Now I don't need all that yet. So right now we're functioning fine off of a 3.5 kilowatt setup outside and then 3,000 watts on the inverter. The main issue was the batteries. Way back when, I had gotten a bunch of lead acid batteries, like really super dirt cheap. All right, so I said, heck with it, man. I'm just going to use these because they were initially outside in the boot of the fifth wheel. I had them because we were cramped up in here and we needed every inch of space. So I had them cramped up in the boot of this fifth wheel, and everything was going to be exposed to the elements basically because, there's no temperature control out there. So I didn't want to get expensive batteries and have to worry about taking good care of them and not had anything set up out here. But at the same time, I didn't want to be using a generator every single day for our power out here because those things are super expensive. So anyways, instead of spending $15 to $20 a day on gas, which is what things could go up to here with the gas prices going up, we said, hey, we got to set up our solar immediately. So within the first month of moving off grid, I set the solar up, all right? And it was enough to get by. However, as we've settled in out here, our needs are changing. Temperatures change, seasons change, and the batteries started going kaput. So got rid of these batteries and went and got the lithium-ion batteries. Now, I looked at different options. I said, hey, I can go and just get them locally maybe, or I could just go online and get companies that have the batteries already built with the BMS already in them. But, it comes down to price. And then it also comes down to watching a lot of videos and seeing that a lot of the teardowns of these bigger battery banks, okay, when they do the teardowns, like they basically take the batteries apart, you look inside them, and these are the cells that are inside those batteries. Most of them are all coming from the same place, okay? They're all coming from China. They're all doing the same thing. The difference is they're putting fancy cases around these things, encasing them, and then they're putting whatever BMS they want to, like their own BMS or you know, just a cheap BMS in there, and they package it up and they sell it for thousands of dollars. So if you want to save a lot of money, you know, you can go this route. Now, there are a lot of little caveats to this, so you know, you got to be careful. These were off of AliExpress. You know, I just didn't feel like waiting. I had ordered from Alibaba in the past, and you know, it's a long wait. It could be, you know, sometimes you forget you ordered stuff. I mean, that's how long it can take. So, obviously, you're not going to forget on these batteries, you know. So, anyways, I wanted them quick, and I said, you know what? To hell with it. I'll just do this express, and I'll take the chance. Which, you know, I just went online and looked at different people's experiences, not just one person's. I go to 10 different people's experiences, and I look, and that's how I reference everything and say, okay, these 10 reliable sources said that this company is a good place to buy these batteries. So that's what I did. Now, I'm not going to put all this information out there for everybody, because I've been seeing a trend lately with YouTubers and just basically putting information out as if they know what they're actually doing. And, you know, they'll put their disclaimer, well, I'm not an electrician, but check out our website and check out all these schematics and check out this and check out that. And, you know, the reality of it is some of the schematics that I've looked at, you know, and I've had an electrician look at them. One big thing that I've noticed with these systems is the grounding. Okay, grounding these systems is different, all right, than grounding, like, say, a normal house. In the fact that you're providing your own power. Okay, if you're completely off grid. Now the fundamentals should be the same. Okay, and the way I have everything grounded is I have everything grounded to a panel, a service panel, and everything's bonded at the panel. And then from there, it goes to the ground, the earth-based grounding. Okay, so you got your ground rods and you got your grounding hooked up to that. I'm not going to show you all that because, like I said, I'm just, that's the way I did it. So, and I consulted with an electrician to do that. All right, so the way I did it was, I don't like having a bunch of ground rods in the ground. You can check out, like, this guy, Mike Holt, I think's his name. Yeah, Holt. You know, he's like the guru. Everybody looks at what the NEC, and this guy, I mean, he'll talk so much that he'll lose you. But basically, he has a lot of information out on grounding and bonding. And when you start looking at some of the information that he provides, you really realize, you're like, yeah, that's true. I mean, everybody thinks like, oh, you should just ground this, ground that. And that's fine. But you start driving a bunch of ground rods into the ground, you know, you're making yourself a big electric field, and you know, you never know what can happen with lightning. So anyways, the way I did this is I did a single ground, okay, in the panel. You can do it how you want. I'm not going to go into it. There's a lot of theories on it and everything, but it also depends on the inverters you have. Some of these inverters have, they're bonded inside the inverters, the neutral and the ground, okay? So that's a problem. When they switch over to batteries, depending on where you got your inverter, what brand it is. So, you know, you have to go as far as taking out the grounding screw, the screws inside to stop that. It can get complicated, is what I'm saying here. And I know I don't want to talk too long, but I need you to understand that, okay? Before you just set these systems up, there's a lot more to it than just going on a web page of some, you know, YouTuber that, you know, is homesteading and say, oh, I'm just going to follow this. I would recommend you don't, okay? So, and don't follow me either. Seriously, I'm just showing you my setup. So, anyways, these batteries, okay, it's 3.2 volt. At 280 amp hours, and I have them wired in, you know, I have them, you know, basically these batteries are in series configuration. I have a BMS hooked up to them. I got the BMS from Overkill Solar, you know, fair price for it, and I think it was I think it was around 200 bucks, less than $200 for this. I can monitor everything on my phone on Bluetooth. I actually can be on different parts of the property down here, and I can monitor this from outside. It's pretty cool. I can shut down the batteries. I can shut down the charging. I can shut down the power basically for this whole structure here. So it's pretty neat. You know, of course, you know, hopefully I don't have to do that, but there's all kinds of parameters you can set inside these BMSs to, you know, set the voltage cutoffs and everything. So, and I'm not going to go into it. There's so much out there that I could do a 30-minute video on this and not be done. We're already at 10 minutes. So, the way everything's wired here is basically the BMS is wired to the neutral of these batteries. It goes into this bus bar over here, okay, and then the negatives are tied in. The BMS is kind of like the gatekeeper here for these batteries, okay, to make sure that they're not getting overcharged, and if they get undercharged, everything shuts down. It's very important that you have a BMS. There are actually people that are running these lithium-ion cells without BMSs, which is absolutely crazy, folks. These things can overheat, and basically you got a big firebomb sitting in your property. So you got to be very careful with these things. Those are the main issue with the lithium that I don't like, is that if something fails, like your BMS or something, it's really not ideal to have this in an RV. I will soon have it in a utility room, and that room will be separate from the house. So that being said, that's what I recommend with lithium ion. Okay, they're fairly safe, but man, you never know. So anyways, these things are hooked into the BMS. The BMS hooks into the inverters. Basically, it's like the CPU there that controls the battery charging, all right? Now, these grow watts have charge controllers built into them, okay, which regulates from the panels to these units, to the batteries, on how that charge is going to be regulated. But in addition to that, you have a battery management system, so it can get complicated. Everything is controlled by computers, all right? Now, the panels outside, which I'm not going to show you those today, because that's going to be its own separate video, folks, the ground mount that I'm doing. So, everything goes in through this combiner box. Once again, not ideal to have a combiner box inside. You want this on your panel ground mount, which it will be once I have that set up. But I just opened this to show you guys how this works. Basically, this box is way bigger than what I need for this one set of panels, but I'm going to have multiple strings here, so this will come in handy when I need it. So basically what this does is this has some lightning protection built into it, as well as fuses for any stray voltages that can come from these panels. And I have blown a fuse before, so it can happen. So basically you need to have one of these. At bare minimum, you need a fuse, like an MC4 inline fuse, on your panels before you run them into your inverter, okay? So once again, not going to go into it. There's plenty of information out there, but that's how this works. So got the batteries, got everything set up. I'm pretty happy with everything. Of course, there's a lot of things I'm leaving out here, like I got a kill switch here. This acts as my kill switch for the panels. Once again, not ideal. You're supposed to have another kill switch. So once again, I'm not trying to teach anybody here. So yeah, that's basically the setup, and this is all wired into the RV. The RV, I should say, is connected to this by a plug. I literally have the RV plugged into this, all right? And all of my electrical down here in this area where we're living right now is all hooked up to the RV's electrical. I don't have any, I did nothing to this RV. I didn't take out any electrical components. I didn't rewire anything in here, because when we go to sell this RV, I can take this thing out of here and all the wiring's original. I didn't mess with anything, and there you go. So that made me feel better to do it that way. So basically, anything out here that's using electricity outside is plugged into the RV. And for further protection, it's plugged into GFCI plugs. Okay, so any outdoor plugs, you know, you have to have them GFCI plugs, ground fault circuit interrupters. So any variation in voltage or anything out there, it's going to trip the GFCI before it's even going to go to this. So that's some of the protections that we have down here. Okay, and this is, once again, I'm living off grid, folks. We're building a house. It's less than ideal setup. It's like full-time camping out here sometimes, so we're trying to make our life as comfortable as possible. Okay, so that's that. Anything else I can think of here? I don't know. You know, as far as price goes, I priced everything out with the ground mount setup, which I'll do in a different video, the inverters, the batteries, BMS, what else, all the other stuff. I did a basic rough estimate of what all this would cost you. So you'd be looking at 6,000 watts, I'm sorry, 6,000 watts of power off your inverters, about 14 kilowatts of power from your batteries, about 7.2 kilowatts off of the solar panels. And to do everything wired correctly, and for the cost of the mount and everything the way I'm doing it, it comes out to about $7 grand. All right, a little more. So you're about $7,000 setup right here. Okay, and this is enough to power a small house. All right, with the stuff I just mentioned to you, that will power a small house. When you start getting bigger and you want more things, you're gonna need to go a little bigger than that. But so yeah, about $7 grand for this setup, and I'm pretty happy with everything so far. And like I said, once everything's set up with the ground mount and I have it ready to go, I'm going to do a nice video on that, because that's where I really saved a lot of money. That number is with me building my own ground mount, welding everything together, and you know, all that. So it's been a while, YouTube. Appreciate you hanging in there, and I'm going to get going here, so talk to you soon.